Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Do Nothing, and I'm here to ask Mr. Ross over here some couple questions about STEM class. I'm Mr. Ross. Hey, Dr. Do Nothing. Nice shirt. Thank you. So, Mr. Ross, how do you learn best? How do I learn best, huh? Well, tell you what, I learn best through experience. You know what they say, how do you gain knowledge? You get experience. How do you get experience? You mess up. So I think if that makes me a visual learner, then I'm a visual learner then. But yeah, but say there's not, I don't want to say there's one definite way that I learn because, I think I enjoy memorization and that sort of stuff. I enjoy understanding how it works. So to tell you the truth, there isn't real one way I would say I learn best. But it doesn't really answer the question. But for instance, okay, a test, like history test, memorization, right? How do I memorize something? For me, I just go over it a bunch of times. Like, I just go over my notes, everything in my notes, like 3 times, 4 times, more or less, depending on the test and how familiar I am with it. Whereas a science test, like say physics, I'd fail that test if I don't understand it. I can't just memorize how it all works. I have to understand how it works. Whereas construction is totally different. You can't just read a manual and understand how to use a tool. You have to have experience with that tool and use it a couple times before you really get it down.
Well, that don't make much sense.
Interesting. Okay. What is your opinion on how people think and solve problems differently? I think that people solving problems differently is great. It's there's always different options, and for the most part, who am I to say that my way is better than somebody else's route or process to getting to solving that problem. Granted, if I know for instance, saying all that, efficiency is also a factor, right? If I know my way is a lot quicker or a lot easier, I'll mention it to them, right? But in terms of people coming to solving problems differently, I think it's great. Look at, science. Where would we be if people all thought the same and never went about whatever differently, right? So yeah, I hope that made sense. What do you think about creativity? About creativity? I think creativity is great. I mean, like you look at buildings and stuff, or just look at creation. Creation, it's literally called creation. Creativity and creation sound very similar, if you ask me. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about God is just looking at how different everything is, how different animals are, plants, grass, people. You know what I'm saying? It's good that there's creativity and that new things spark up all the time. Otherwise, be all boring. And these are all very interesting things, Mr. Ross. Okay, what are 3 things that you would like to do for the next 20 years? I'd love to do for the next 30 years? Well, let's see. Let's start with construction management. Follow in my family's footsteps. Being a teacher, that'd be pretty cool. Some sort of minister would be cool. I guess that's already 3, but I'm gonna go 4 because I'm a cheater. 4, comedian. Those my top 4. All right, Mr. Ross, what are one of your weaknesses? What is one of my what? One of my weaknesses? Right there. Sorry. Oh, weaknesses. Oh, well, currently it's hearing. Goodness. Yeah. But no. I'd have to go with using my mouth wisely. Let's say. Last year, God really opened my eyes to see how Often I use my mouth to bring attention to myself, and when I should be using it to glorify Him. So it's a constant struggle of using my mouth to reflect His glory. Mr. Ross, what do you do best? What is something I do best? I like to think I'm pretty good at being a peacemaker. Like genuinely, I'm not saying this to try to brag or anything, but I genuinely can't think of many people that don't like me. This is how I like to put it. I'm not really tight with anybody, but I'm friends with everybody, if that makes sense. That was something I always respected about my dad. I've never met anybody who disliked my dad. So it's something I've tried to learn from him. And it's always, once again, something I'm always trying to work on. Mr. Ross, what are some of your goals for this upcoming year? Mr. Ross, what are 2 things that you would like to explore or learn something new? Goals for class this year and 1 or 2 things that I'd like to explore. Goals for class this year. To continue to talk with Mr. Snyder about how we can make school and, more importantly, all the students' relationships with Christ even stronger. Gaining wisdom, learning, always becoming more creative, that sort of thing, thinking differently. Learn my newbies and stuff and have them actually be practical. And to make it enjoyable for, teachers and students. And then for 1 to 2 things I'd like to explore, well, my newbie number 1 is going to be driving clutch. Let's learn how to drive clutch or manual, and then potentially, going off from there and learning how to drive bigger vehicles with it. Like, down the road, the plan is to get the CDL, that sort of thing. And another thing is, my other newbie, I'm planning on doing woodworking. Just getting really good at woodworking would be another thing I'd like to explore and get better at. Adios, mi amigos. I hope you got a kick out of this video. Hope you had fun with it. Hope you like the stash.